can digitally recreate Adam Hales collages using Photoshop and some stock images as well as your own photographs. Now, as you can see here, Adam Hale uses lots of old kind of papers and creates his cut out collages from that. We are going to be looking at some stock images on Google. Again, you can type in anything you wish. If you have a look at some of his examples, having some buildings in there, there's some floral elements, looking at obviously a lot of humour and some kind of random obscure elements. That would be really quite interesting to create your image. So we've got a few lined up here. The first thing you are going to do is open up a new file in Photoshop. So that is going to be File, New, and then I have opened up an A4 document, which I have here. I then have two images that I can work from. Now, obviously, you will be working from your own portrait photographs. I'm just going to click and drag this in here. I'm going to hit enter to place my image. And for this one, I am just going to cut out the hand. So I'm going to zoom in slightly. And I'm going to start to use the lasso tool. I'm just going to make this full size. So I'm going to go to the lasso tool, so it's third down on the left hand side, and you're going to carefully draw around your object. Now again, if you feel confident, you can go right up to the edge. If you want to be a little bit more careful with it, you can leave a slight gap as you go around, and then I'm going to show you how we can tidy that up. Again, you can really take your time this. So once I have that, I'm going to copy and paste it. So I'm going to press Command C and Command V, or you can do edit, copy, edit, paste. And what you'll have is your cut out hand. Now obviously mine's is not as refined as what I want, so I'm going to zoom in. So Command plus or View, zoom in. I'm then going to go to my eraser tool. Obviously you can experiment with the size of your brush. You can make that a little bit smaller if needed. And I am going to start to kind of tidy up and refine my elements. Now it's going to be exactly the same process no matter what feature or image you're cutting out, whether it is hands or eyes or lips. It's going to be the same lasso tool. Obviously you can zoom in that a little bit more to get a little bit more detail and get closer to your image. I'm going to change the size of my brush so it's a little bit smaller. And again, you can really take your time. If you experiment with combining quite a few different elements and evidence this process in your book, it's going to really help with your assessment objectives. So if we're thinking about assessment objective 2, it's all about experimentation. We want to experiment while you're taking your photographs, so in camera and also in post as well for your editing. So that's areas that you need to make sure you are fully evidencing in your book. So screen grabs or progress photos as you go if you're doing any physical or digital manipulations. It's also a great idea that while you're taking the shoot that you perhaps include some behind the scenes images. It can always be really helpful seeing your setup, how your photos were created, etc. But again, you're going to take your time with this kind of tidying up and refining process. Something that looks like that. Now I'm going to jump into this one that I've already been working on. So you can see here that I have experimented with the orientation of my hand. I've also started adding elements. Again, I've got some buildings. I've got the world here. Again, another few buildings, and adding in some flowers. You can really think about lots of elements that you want to combine in there. Looking at strange and obscure of the pairing. Obviously that is entirely up to you. It can be really quite successful. You can also then experiment with the background colour. Click on your background. You can change the colour. You might want a patterned background in there. So again, these are all things that you can experiment with and evidence in your book. But again, the technique is exactly the same. So lasso tool, select the area that you want, copy, paste, and then you can experiment with your composition.